Hey guys, welcome to the Ugly Truth Show. What all we do here is say the truth, be it good, bad, or ugly, with my co-host Nick Turnbull. Nick,
What's up, Tony B?
love the shirt.
Had to rock the pink today.
Damn, you look good. You look good.
Look, you're gonna make me blush on camera.
How's your week? How was your week?
It was productive.
Good.
A little busy, but it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Listen, every time I call after a certain time, or after I text you after a certain time, probably like after 4 or 5 p.m., you're always walking.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the walking part?
Now that I'm retired, because we always have to say this.
Absolutely. By the way, I'm retired too.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm done.
The walking allows me to go longer without any wear and tear on my knees as opposed to running. So instead of running a mile, I'll walk like 10 miles.
Got it.
And then, mixed up with a little bit of working out. And
what do you do? Like calisthenics type of deal? Like,
no, I walk.
That's all you do?
I'm just walking. My normal walk, though, is pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, I have no problem with that. Well, actually, it's not a problem. I'm kind of jealous. So every time you walk, not every time, but I would say 2 out of every 5 times you walk, you always end up somewhere else. The other day you ended up in my building.
I was in your building.
You slept in my building, in an apartment in the building. I just want to, point that out.
Right. It was, I was just walking and I was going to come visit you.
Yeah. What happened? On the way up
I got
in the elevator?
I got detoured. So.
Got it.
And then I walked the next day again.
Got it. Well, listen, you look great. One of the things that I want to ask you, which I'm going to ask our guest today, which we have a great guest, interesting guest, really excited to introduce him. I'm not going to do that just yet because I'm going to ask him the same question I'm going to ask you, which is, you as a former athlete, there, especially in South Florida. South Florida has so much talent. There's baseball talent, basketball talent, football talent, you name it, across the board.
Something in our water.
It's something in our water, yeah, absolutely. By the way, we have no COVID because we're wide open. It's a different strain of COVID.
It is.
So one that doesn't really, kick your butt, basically.
Right.
But all kidding aside, we were talking about this the other day, and my interest was because, I have a son who's an athlete. He's a student athlete, and and I keep on telling him, look, son, you have to do this and you have to do that, and there's so many boxes you got to check off. It's not just on talent and skill. So my question to you is, what are those boxes? What do you think are the top? I think there's like 20 boxes you got to check off, but what are the top 10 boxes as a young student athlete that you had to check off, and in the interim sacrifice many things while you were growing up as a teenager in this very busy town that you could get distracted very easily?
Okay. There's much more than 20 boxes. And I think there is like a standard 10 boxes, but after that, everyone else, depending on their upbringing, has certain boxes to get through.
Right.
So my situation, I grew up in Miami Gardens.
Right.
So I had a lot of obstacles. Yes or wrong, right or wrong. Do I hang out with the guys on the corner, or do I go over here and work out? So that was one of the biggest obstacles. Besides that, obviously you have to have your grades. Everyone in high school thinks, I'm going to go to the NFL, but they skip. I got to go to college first.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're in college, they're in high school, and they have a 0.1 GPA, and they think they're going to the NFL still. It can't happen. You have to have both.
Right. And there's a big misconception with that. If I'm that skilled, I don't have to go to class. I don't have to go to school. No. I don't have to get, a certain GPA. And I disagree with that misconception. I've seen the opposite.
I wish I didn't have to go to class. When I was in high school, I bust my butt from 9th to 11th grade, to where I could have graduated 11th grade.
Right.
Because my high school, we had a block schedule. So I was doing 8 classes a year. So every year I was doing 2 extra classes than everyone else, because back then it was 6 classes a year.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I was going into my senior year, I already had 4 years of high school done. So my senior year was all electives. I didn't have to do anything.
Right. So it wasn't that hard, the senior year.
It wasn't, but it was, because I got in trouble my senior year. So since I had electives, my first period was PE. Uh-huh. And I believe there was 50-something days in that semester, or 30-something days in that semester. And I probably, on paper, missed 97% of it.
Oh, wow.
And the reason being is I was going to school late because I didn't want to go to PE. So I would show up late, and my full attendance for the day is from first period. So the school thought I missed almost every day of school. Exactly. Right. So it was a big mission. I had to go back in there. I almost lost a scholarship because of it. But I had to go back and prove that I was there for the other classes. So that's why they make teachers take attendance every period for things like that.
Got it.
So that was another challenge. That's one of the check marks. But then you could have all the talent in the world, but then you want to play basketball in college and you're 5'7". And then you know, I hear stories all the time of a kid will tell me, "Oh, if I went to college, I would have went to the NBA or the NFL." And I'm looking, I'm like, you know, you're 5'7", 145 pounds. Like,
right.
I don't care how good you are.
No way.
But when you have someone like our guest that's about 6'8", 6'9", playing point guard,
exactly.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
No. So, listen, if I was a scout and I had a choice of a 5'7", 5'8", or our guest,
right,
who's 6'8", 6'9",
exactly.
I'm not even going to ask if you know how to dribble basketball.
No,
I'm going with the 6'8", 6'9".
The only person that I could think of that small playing was Muggsy Bogues.
Right.
And he even struggled.
Right. And he gives false hopes to these.
Exactly.
He's 5'7".
But since him, Muggsy Bogues was really short.
Yeah.
I don't remember how
I think he was shorter than me.
He was short. But since then.
Yeah. Who's been there? Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I can't think of anyone.
So there's a lot of boxes to check off. Is right? Would you agree with me?
There's a lot of boxes there's no set box. Again, it just depends your upbringing, where you're coming from. If it's an international kid, he has a lot more challenges than someone else that's not.
Sure.
If it's a kid that lives in Miami and you have a bunch of scouts coming here, they're going to see you opposed to a kid that's living in Idaho that has to score 80 points a game just for somebody to say, who's this in Idaho?
Right.
Because they don't have scouts going in there constantly.
Yeah.
Like if you're here, I'll use a Columbus as an example. Uh-huh. You have a Columbus football team. You have one great athlete on that team. I think that football roster is 200 kids. I don't know. It's a huge roster. Right. So when the college comes there, they're like, okay, we could pick at least 10 of these kids. Same thing with like St. Thomas and Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. There's just athletes everywhere. And by having schools like that in Miami, the scouts are already in Miami. So now we could go to Northwestern, we could go to Booker T, we could go everywhere we want, opposed to these other states that don't get the recognition that we get here. Yeah. Not saying the kids there can't play, but just the overall talent that we have here is like nowhere else. And I've traveled everywhere.
Right. This is
one of the things I would do, like if we had a game or if we were traveling somewhere, I always go to high school games. And high school football is not close to anywhere to here. Miami is by far the best. I'm not even going to say Miami. I'm going to say the state of Miami. Which you heard of the state of Miami.
I know the state of Miami.
I-4 and down.
State of Miami.
So the state of Miami. Basketball, same thing. I mean, you got other places that can play basketball, but I'm just the whole body of work. Baseball, no one's close.
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah, baseball, no one's close. Soccer, I mean, soccer is soccer.
I think that has a lot to do, and I heard this from several coaches before, and I don't know how true this is, but it has a lot to do with the weather. You come here and it's year round, whatever sport you choose, right? Except snow skiing or any winter Olympic sports, right?
Yeah, but we're so athletic, we just go up there and do it.
You're absolutely right. We can still train.
Exactly. I mean, I went skiing once.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever done it.
Of course.
Do you want to hear my skiing story?
I want to hear. Yes, I want to hear
Okay.
your skiing story.
All right.
But hurry up with the skiing story because this next guest has some
Well,
stories of his own.
We'll
But
talk about.
no, I want to hear the skiing story.
Okay.
Because I got my own. But go ahead.
All right, so I went skiing. I did the class, and I was stopping really good. And the instructor was like, "Hey, you skied before, huh?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Then how do you know that advanced stop?" And I make a joke with my confidence. I'm just athletic, man. I know how to do everything. He said, "Okay, you can go up to the top of the mountain. Don't veer left because the mountain just drops." Okay, no problem. I go all the way to the top of the mountain. So I started skiing, and there's a snowboarder, I guess, that he fell, and I had to get around him. So I went left just a little bit to get around him, but once I turned left, I couldn't turn back straight. So guess where I went?
To exactly where?
Straight down.
Down, yeah,
Listen,
where he told you not to go.
I tried. They tell you to cross your skis to stop.
Right.
Don't
Slow
cross
down.
and make the V.
Right, just slow down.
My V crossed.
Boom.
I probably flew down the mountain. Listen, I probably flew down the mountain 400 yards. My gloves were gone. My shoes were off. The skis were off. My everything. My phone was lost. And it was such a bad fall. You know, the lift that brings you up.
Yeah.
They turned it off. Everyone's running to me, and I'm sitting there laughing. And the only thing I could think of is I hope my knees aren't torn.
Is this during your NFL career?
Oh
before
no!
Or
This was after. This was after.
Thank God.
This wasn't that long ago.
Thank God. And nothing ever happened. I mean, you didn't get injured. Right?
No, I didn't get injured, but I tore my knee before, and I just was praying because I hear a lot of stories skiing. You tear your knee a lot. You do,
yeah. And that was snowboarding. You know.
You were snowboarding?
No, I wasn't snowboarding. I'm old school. I'm skiing. I have a ski story, but I don't want to bore you or anybody else with my ski story. It's funny as shit, though. If we have time at the end, I'll tell you my ski story.
All right, let's do it.
But why don't we introduce our next guest?
Yes.
Okay. So our next guest is a local boy from here, right? And he's known as the 3-point assassin. And he has an interesting story to tell on why he got that nickname. But let's invite Mr. Kevin O'Brien.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's good to be here.
Welcome. So, Kevin, you played basketball locally here, all right? And you went to probably the best high school. That is my favorite high school in Miami. Okay, it's number 1, Columbus, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, adelante. So you have a brother here for sure. And so, you grew up in South Florida. Mm-hmm. Are you originally from here?
Yeah, born and raised.
Born and raised. This is great. Born and raised. And so, what I want to know your struggles on how you accomplished playing professional basketball. Because, and I guess the same question I asked Nick, what are these boxes that you have to check off in order to get there? It's not easy. It's a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah, a lot of sacrifices for sure. I mean, just like Nick said, it's kind of tough to narrow it down. I feel like everybody does have their own thing, depending on their situation, where they come from, where their family comes from, their home situation. Everybody kind of has different boxes they want to check off. Is this a clean? Can you talk?
You can say whatever you want.
I think no matter what sport you're playing, if you're coming out of Miami, you got to have a little dog, and you got to have a little motherfucker about you.
Absolutely,
if you want to make it.
Absolutely, you could underline the
absolutely, motherfucker. Absolutely. I know my mom's watching this. She's not going to be too happy about that, but it's really true. And I had to kind of learn that as time went on, as my career progressed. That's kind of the separator. You have to be willing to kind of take the punches. There's going to be people from your own city that are going to be naysayers or biggest doubters, and you got to be able to look past all that. You got to trust in the work that you put in, and just constantly remind yourself that these are your goals. These are what you want to attain. These are the things you want to accomplish. And those same people that are talking down on you are probably going to try to be in your corner once you finally make it to those positions that you talked about. So, yeah, I think, coming from Miami, a lot of people would look at it as you have an edge. You have an upper hand because we don't come from Idaho or somewhere cold. Right. It's tough to get recruited. Nonetheless, it is tough to get recruited just because everybody's on the same mission as you. Right. And there's only so many spots. So you got to find a way to separate yourself. For me, I was a late bloomer, but I always knew what I wanted to do from the time I was 5 years old. I knew I wanted to be a ball player.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I was a kid, and I'll never forget it. We're in our living room, and the Lakers are playing. It was Kobe and Shaq, and I was in awe of watching Shaq and Kobe, and I fell in love with the game and was obsessed with the Lakers. And from that point, I was, Mom, this is what I want to do. And they put me in Tamiami basketball.
That's great.
Yeah, man.
And you weren't that tall, or were you already tall?
I was always a big kid.
You was always
a big family.
Yeah.
I'm the tallest one, so I've always been a big kid. I think when I was born, I was like 13 pounds or something like that.
Wow.
We were all C-section. God bless my mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we're a big family, close-knit group. And I've always been a big kid, but the skills kind of came a little bit later. You know, even up until I got to high school, like my freshman and sophomore year, I was going through a lot of growing pains. So I was really awkward. Like, I'm sure if we pulled up some film or something from my freshman year, I'm like tripping over my own feet and stuff. I just look crazy.
But you kept going.
Yeah, of course.
And you were committed.
Yeah, I've always been that way. I've always been super resilient, and I've always known what I wanted to do. So I just continue to keep working. And
you're now with what professional team? I know you play in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. So I played my rookie year in Mexico in 2018. I left Lynn University a year early. I graduated, but I had another year to play due to my red shirts from some injuries that I had. But I left a year early, and I went to Mexico to go play with Panteras de Aguascalientes. The city is Aguascalientes. Very small, cool little city in Mexico. Not too crazy, not too much going on. People, you know, the people are nice. They got working jobs there, but you can imagine some of the places we go to are unbelievable. And, you know, some of the stuff that goes on out there is,
I could only imagine.
You almost just want to go do what you got to do and then get to the apartment and the hotel.
There's no check marks.
I'm sure you have stories, and they're not basketball stories.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's funny you mentioned that, because I talked to my little brother about this. Most of my stories, and you know, I had a great time there playing wise, and I'm going back in June, but some of the games is the least of my experience there. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's what I'm there to do. But you know, you're just a kid coming from Miami, and now I'm in Mexico, and all these people, you know, they don't know too much about the NBA, so they're following our league. We're kind of like the superstars around for them. So to get that kind of attention is it's cool, man. It's what you work for.
And I know you've done well out there in Mexico.
Yeah, I did pretty good as a rookie. I was really young. It's a grown man's league. So the thing about playing overseas, which a lot of people don't really know about, is each team is allowed 3 imports. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's an American player, but usually it is, because Americans are typically the best players.
Right.
So each team can bring in 3 American players and have them join the team that's made up of local guys, Mexican guys.
Right.
And, you know, that can be challenging because those guys are expected to perform. So if you're not, you know, playing up to your potential or up to what they expect, they're going to just send you home and bring somebody else in. You know, they'll send me in and bring Nick in to replace me.
Of course.
You know
So
just like that.
In a sense, it's almost harder to make it there opposed to these other leagues that will let as many Americans as they want.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way a little bit too. I think that playing overseas is, although people would see like the NBA, and it is the highest level of play, there's really so many more pressures that come with playing overseas. You know, you leave your family for X amount of time, and you know, you're gone for holidays and stuff, and you're constantly just doing what you're asked, and you have all these expectations on you, just like any other job.
No, and it's a foreign language also.
Right, foreign language. Luckily, I speak Spanish. So
growing up in Miami, right?
Yeah,
you had no choice.
Yeah. You know, it was a good trick to have over there. It didn't come as handy last year when I was playing in Europe before the pandemic, but it comes in handy when I'm in Mexico for sure.
Tell me a little bit about that. You went from Mexico then to Europe,
right? So I played for 2 teams in Mexico. I played for the Panteras, and then when that season ends, there's another league that picks up right after that called the Ciba Copa, and I played with the Caballeros de Culiacan. So that was a much different experience, playing, you know, in kind of a safer city, you know, nice people, easygoing people, to Culiacan, probably super notorious for the, you know, cartel stuff and all that other stuff going on. Shortly after I left, they almost had like a civil war because they arrested Chapo's son or something, and these people asked to turn him loose. I mean,
were you there for that?
No, I wasn't. Thankfully, I wasn't.
They shut down. They actually barricaded the whole town.
I saw it. It was unbelievable.
And I think the president of Mexico said, "Hey, listen, you know, I'll pull back the troops.
Yeah, man.
Just
keep them.
Yeah, keep them.
I mean, that's crazy.
We don't. That is crazy.
That's unbelievable.
That's nuts. So I want to ask you another question, and you know, you knew this question was coming because I already mentioned it. But why do they call you the 3-point assassin?
So I don't think they actually call me that. Like, I don't think anybody like sees me and calls me that. That's more of what I'm known for. I've always kind of as I've made a name for myself, been a pretty good shooter. It's gotten better. Obviously, it actually got better when the knee started to go out, because I started driving in a little bit less, kind of settling for the jumper. But
you have. I want you to tell us the story that we kind of touched on before we went on the air. And that's a great story. You were rehabbing and you were just shooting. Can you say that story?
Yeah. So
can you tell us that story?
Yeah. I was at Santa Fe College still. It was after my second consecutive ACL surgery. So I was out for that year. This was probably about 3 or 4 months into my rehab. So, I can do weight bearing. I can walk around, maybe jog a little bit, but no real cutting or jumping or anything. So I'm just standing there. I showed up to practice one day and we're doing partner shooting. I'm with one of my other teammates. I can't even remember who it was off the top, but I'm just standing there catching just routine shots. And I think I sat there and made like 50, 56, 57 in a row or something like that. Three-pointers, just one spot, just catch and shoot. And that's just what it is. Cause I work on these things every single day. So you kind of get a lucky little streak. And obviously I noticed as it was going on, but these are the kind of the things that I expect out of myself.
And somebody filmed you.
Yeah. My assistant coach did, Coach V. I was going through a lot at that time because I had kind of lost all the college interest I picked up. When you're playing at a JUCO, you're there for 2 years, and then your goal is to get a scholarship at a 4-year school.
Right.
Guys are there for whatever reason, whether it's personal issues or maybe they weren't a qualifier due to grades coming out of high school. So it's kind of an opportunity to get seen. At that point, the stigma about me was that I had these reoccurring injuries. So I feel like guys were starting to write me off a little as far as the D1 route. But Coach V was there that day. Luckily, he pulled his phone out and was recording. And sure enough, it was a lot of big time D2s and some other schools that were reaching out, trying to get me out for a visit. And I think at that time, it gave me a little bit of confidence to know that, maybe it wasn't over for me, that I'd still have another opportunity.
That's great. Now I'm going to go backwards because I can't let this one go. Brother Kevin. That was coming.
Yeah.
Nick is looking. Nick,
I know who he is.
Really?
Yes.
He's that infamous.
I know who he is.
Oh, he is. There's no question.
Look, even Nick knows.
Everybody knows.
Nick went to Flanagan's High School, graduated from there. He knows Brother Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to FIU, so I'm right there.
Little anecdote of Brother Kevin.
Yeah.
We love Brother Kevin, but a little anecdote.
We do.
You think he's really retired?
I'm going to tell you this. Look, I work out in Columbus all the time. I've seen him around campus. I think that he's a part of Columbus forever.
Absolutely.
Obviously, he's left his mark there. He's been there for an eternity. So like some kids have grandfathers that were there when he was there. So
it's amazing. It is,
man. It is.
Since you brought it back, I have a question for you now.
What's up, man?
Because you said earlier that your 9th grade year, you were tripping over yourself. Basically, you got tall and you had to grow into your body. You didn't know how to control your body.
He was my coach, actually, bro.
So,
my coach. So I was hoping if we were going to dive into that a lot.
Now we are.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, at what point did you realize that you could actually pursue basketball besides being tall? Like, when did you realize, okay, maybe I could go to college or do this? Because a lot of kids in high school, at some point, they're going to say, okay, I can do this or I can't. People start to excel and others don't.
So like my situation at Columbus was a little bit tough. I didn't really get my opportunity. Like I said, I was a late bloomer, but I think around my junior year, I started to really feel like I was kind of ready. Like I can play, I can compete. But I wasn't getting too much time. Unfortunately, we had some guys over me that personally I thought I was better than.
Right.
And they're my friends and they'll admit it to this day. But it just is what it is. And I try to do my part as being a good teammate, doing whatever the team needed me to do, because that's naturally how I am. But obviously, from a personal standpoint, there's nothing I wanted more than to play. Right. I even considered transferring from Columbus, and I love Columbus. I have some friends there that'll be my friends forever.
Forever.
Truly my brother.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah,
I graduated many years ago.
It's really just different. You walk in there and it's still the same love as I was when I was walking the halls. So I'm really glad that it worked out the way it did. And then I think my senior year, when that finally came around, I finally got a job or an opportunity rather. And it just kind of blew up, man. It all came together. It all kind of came full circle. All the work and sacrifice started to show off. People could see what I can do. I started getting some buzz a little bit, and I think that's when I knew I could really make some noise.
So let's talk about your coach then. Well, when he was your coach, what were all his roles? Because now that's pretty interesting.
So BK's tough.
Get off your ass, son.
BK's tough, man. He's real old school. And like I tell you guys, I was really, really awkward. And it was tough at that time. I probably hated him at that time. I probably had so much like animosity towards him. I mean, he made my life tough, man. Like there were simple things. I couldn't do a left-handed layup, like off my right leg, left-handed layup when I was a freshman. And he used to haunt me to death about it. He would call me out at every practice because I just couldn't do it. And I'd go home like crying, and my dad would have me doing all types of weird drills and stuff to get it right. But I think that was the first time somebody really like kind of lit a fire under my ass a little bit. I did.
And he did it with love.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if maybe that was his intention, but it worked. Right. I just didn't want to be looked at like that. I love the game so much. I wanted to be good at it. And that's another thing. I played a lot of sports growing up too. My grandfather was a great pitcher from Cuba. I played football when I was younger. Basketball was always my first love, but also the biggest challenge for me. And I think that's why I gravitated towards it, because everything else sort of kind of came a little bit easy. I mean, I probably couldn't play with these guys, but at least at the time it seemed kind of easy. And basketball was always like, I just had to stay on it. And I love that about it.
Did you play in high school at all? Any other sports?
Football. I played football my first 2 years. My big brother was a good player. Yeah. He played all 4 years at Columbus. Obviously the Columbus reputation speaks for itself as far as football. So that was cool to be a part of. And I think I just had to make a decision at that point, my junior year. I think everybody does, like if you really want to commit to something. And I chose basketball, man. Basketball wasn't really buzzing as much as football was. And I had all these dreams and visions of being the guy.
You have dreams, you have goals. I think you've achieved a lot of them. But what's the future like? What does the future look like for you as far as your career in basketball?
Well, I think it's a blessing that I get to play at a very, very high level. Get to be in a position to be able to help my family. And also just doing what I love. I don't really have a clock as to when I want to stop playing. I've had tough woes already coming into my third year where I've considered, maybe this isn't for me. Like maybe I need to take a step back. But at the end of the day, I always get drawn back to it. I always find that passion again. So I don't really have a timetable as to when I want to stop, but I've always wanted to use basketball as kind of like a foundation. So I hope that I can, take my career to a place where I can make a pretty good amount of money to be able to come back and make some moves, make an impact here in my community.
That's awesome.
I love Miami. I love kids. I've always envisioned living here. So kind of the part of my life that's weird is I'm young now and I get to travel and play in these places. But I think when it's all said and done, I want to come here and make an impact somehow.
Okay. One of the things that I was excited to do this with you today is because I want everybody to get to know who you are and to know you. I think you're an awesome young man with a huge future, big heart, loves the game, and a hell of an athlete. And so, hopefully, the viewers today that are watching or listening could actually get to know Kevin and know that he's all Miami, and even more important, you're all Columbus. You're an explorer, baby.
Definitely.
Nick, don't get too.
I'm not. I have nothing against Columbus,
but
we're a very welcoming group, though.
Right.
Absolutely, yes. Columbus is, and so I have just one other question. Who is your favorite player? You mentioned the Lakers. What was your favorite player? Who did you emulate? There's always somebody that you say, well, I want to be like him. Although later you understand that you cannot be like him and you just use him as a motivation. But who was your favorite player?
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it like that, just to kind of end it on that note, because it's not only impossible for me, it's impossible for anybody, but definitely LeBron. I mean, LeBron's like a standard, unbelievable athlete. The way he takes care of his body, his approach, obviously how he performs on a night-to-night basis. I mean, he's incredible. And I think anybody would want to emulate their game after him. A big dude. He's a guard. He can do everything out there. He's the best.
So I don't even have to ask that one question, right? Michael or LeBron? LeBron.
I'm not gonna talk.
But I can't take anything away from Mike because that's always been like the thing. Is it Bron? Is it Mike? And then everybody saw the Last Dance thing. So a lot of the younger generation is like, oh no, it's for sure Mike. And you almost can't go wrong either way. But for me, I'm picking Bron.
Interesting.
He picked Bron because you never watched Mike.
I did watch Mike. I did watch Mike a little bit though, but not enough. Not enough. I mean,
Listen,
I had to be there.
It was
there was nothing like Mike.
But two great players.
Yeah.
Two great players that defined their generation.
Right. LeBron is definitely the best right now. But to put things in perspective, if you go by career stats, which LeBron's already almost doubled Jordan's career.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that. Mm-hmm. But if you go average, LeBron's still chasing Jordan.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. There's a lot that you can do as far as like playing both sides. So,
right.
You know, you can look at the minutes that LeBron's played in the postseason, and then credit that to like how he's actually never gotten hurt. That's crazy. He used to run the East before. You know, I know his finals record isn't great, but he never really had a problem getting out of the East, which that's one thing people never talk about from Mike. Mike never beat Larry Bird and the Celtics. Mike couldn't get past the bad boy Pistons until he got to the finals. Then that's when he went.
Right. But the East with LeBron, let's be honest,
it's LeBron's conference. But now look at the West though. Now all these guys are coming to
No, I'm not taking anything away from.
So
LeBron.
I feel like wherever he goes, people
like
feel
you could say he didn't all the minutes in the playoffs, but how many regular season games did he play?
Well,
so
that was him first. They were talking about the load management thing for him first. But I think he's gotten away from that. I think in like 2018, he played every game that season.
Yeah.
And I think they got swept in the finals, but he was the only one.
Right.
And that's tough for anybody. But yeah, man, he's incredible. You can't go wrong either way.
Yeah, I agree.
Two
more. I just thought of two more.
No, go. Just
two more.
Oh, man, we're here.
Real quick.
Tony B, we're here. We're here.
Yes. I'm grateful to have you here. NBA.
Is it a goal of mine? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm just throwing it out there.
That's everybody's goal. Everybody wants to play in the NBA. Like goal though, is it what I'm aspiring for? Is it what I'm chasing right now? No. Would it be something that I'd love to get the opportunity to be a part of? Absolutely. Of course. I think anybody would. Like, I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't want to play.
That was your dream growing up.
Yeah,
that's every kid's dream.
You're not a 5-year-old kid thinking, I can't wait to go play in basketball.
Right.
You know?
Or I can't wait just to go play college or high school.
But you learn about what the game can do for you. And I think that I'm on a pretty good pace right now. If the NBA never happens for me, then I hope that I still get to make the most of playing overseas and making my impact known overseas, maybe in one particular country or several. But I'm just enjoying the process now.
Who's great?
Didn't Stephon Marbury did that, didn't he?
Yeah, Marbury went to China, and I mean he's a legend over there.
He's like the Jordan over there.
Yeah, he's the legend over there. He's got 2 statues. He owns a team. I mean,
NBA is not the only thing.
If I'm not mistaken, you've had a lot of success overseas.
So far, yeah, it could get better, but we're on the.
You're a star out there.
I guess they show a little bit of love.
You know what makes him even better? His humility.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Yeah.
You are definitely a star out there overseas. His stats are unbelievable. I can't rattle them off right now because I remember all of them, but they are unbelievable. You can look them up. I have one other question: Are Better's hot dogs
landmark?
That
whole stretch right there is filled with landmarks.
Unbelievable.
Even that La Carreta right on
La Carreta. Awesome.
All these places, man. But
Huechete.
That's where I'm. Huechete to the fullest.
That's where we grew up. It didn't matter where you lived.
Oh man,
I lived in Gables because my parents lived in Gables. But Huechete, because that's where I went to school. That's where I spent most of my time.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, it was great. It was great, having you on. I don't know if you have any questions for Nick or myself. We're going to give you an opportunity. You got one question for him, one question for me. If you want to, if not, you can pass.
I do actually. I do have a question for Nick. So,
okay.
So you played for the Bears when they came down and played in the Super Bowl here. I forgot how old I was. I was a kid, but my birthday always lands around the Super Bowl. So we used to always have Super Bowl parties in my house, like in my backyard. I'd have some of my friends come over and watch the game. So for you playing in that type of game, a Super Bowl, man. I mean, think about it. Super Bowl in your home city. Like, what was that like?
Man, it's hard to explain what it was. I remember going into the NFC Championship game, kind of doubting it. I was like, what's the odds of me going to the Super Bowl in Miami?
Mhm.
But then once we got here, once we won that game, that's when it really hit me. And we came here. It's funny because I remember when I left Chicago, it was like 5 degrees. My water in my freezer was frozen. I come down there, it's like 90. So,
Can't match.
I mean, the events, all the news reporters knew me from college here already. So, I was getting a lot of, publicity, and I was able to see family, friends, go to the parties, invite my friends that normally aren't able to go to these type of parties. I was able to bring them to them.
Cool, man.
There was distractions, but I was able to concentrate on the game because we were on a strict curfew.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few guys from Miami. I know Hester's not from Miami, but
They claim
he's Miami.
Like
right.
He's West Palm. It's like right there.
Yeah,
So,
he's Miami.
but it was an experience that I'll never forget. To this day, I still have things from that game. I still have magazines, the sideline stuff, everything.
That's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
I know you wanted to speak about your passion for music and
yeah.
a little and fashion also.
Yeah,
I
man.
believe.
So obviously, we're sitting here, we're talking about our careers and being athletes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important to kind of expand your horizon a little bit and be into other things. And for me, I wasn't always into it. But I really kind of found enjoyment in kind of, dressing up a little bit, playing the part a little bit. I feel like if you look good, you play good. And I've just kind of gained an interest in it. I got a lot of friends that are starting up brands and some that have brands going, and we've kind of been in talks and stuff. And I think that, it goes back to your question as to what I wanted to do after basketball. And this would just be another thing to check off the list. I'd like to put my input in on, some being a designer from afar at some point, just a bunch of different things, man. It's something that I'm into. It's something that's cool. I get a lot of inspiration from some of the guys in the NBA that do their tunnel walks and stuff.
Right.
And I don't think too many guys do it overseas, but I'm looking to shake that up a little bit this year. I got some stuff planned for him this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
What a great future. So, listen, we're privileged to have the LeBron James of Mexico. That's his new nickname.
I wouldn't call it that.
Mexico.
I wouldn't
the
call it
LeBron
that.
James of Mexico.
I wouldn't call it that, but I do appreciate you guys. I do appreciate the time.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
All right, great. Awesome. And so, Nick, we're good?
I'm good.
Love the pink shirt.
Gotta rock it.
I gotta get one of those.
I might have purple next week.
All right. So thank you for joining us at the Ugly Truth Show with myself, TB, and Nick T. And I want to give a shout out to Ron at the Lost Art Miami. I'll be there next week. I'm coming for you, son. Thanks. Mr. Grant Miller.